Welcome to the 45th running of the famous Hickstead Jumping Derby. The clouds are high, the crowds are pouring in, and we've got a top-class field for the £90,000 at stake.
From a rider's point of view, it's a fantastic one to win.
There's no finer event in England's show jumping.
It's tough. It's one of the biggest courses in the world.
It is a classic. It goes back to 1960s. It's the same course. Prize money's great.
It's a great class. I think the public love it. It's renowned throughout the world. If you win the Hickstead Derby, everybody in the world knows what that means.
Well, excitement and drama awaits the huge crowd here, and it was John Whittaker who won last year in great style, and let's talk to him and Bob Ellis.
They have to be bold, but they also have to be careful. You know, there's some very spooky looking fences which make the horse back off.
It's unique. It's never reproduced anywhere else apart from Hickstead.
So you need to be very bold, but there's also some tricky fences like going into the Devil's Dyke where you have to be really careful. Obviously
the bank and the Devil's Dyke are the two major factors. We've made it a little less steep this year, made it a little bit more horse friendly. We've pulled it out another 18 inches at the bottom, and it should ride a little bit better.
There's a lot of fences there that to knock down and things can go wrong, but hopefully it'll be all right.
You know, it's a super course and causes a lot of excitement for the crowd.
So the scene is set for the 2005 running of what is, as we've heard, a world-famous event. It is the young Argentine Jose Del Roca who takes us round this course over a distance of 1,195 metres and 16 of those world-famous fences. The going absolutely perfect. Again, more rain at the beginning of the show, but it's dried out over the last couple of days as Jose comes down to the first of the unique ditches. The crowd right near the edge of those ditches there. They really can almost feel the horses jumping them. And of course, over the years, only 49 clear rounds, which really shows what this competition is all about. Courage, excitement, drama, and of course skill. Oof! That privet hedge is one that's always caused problems. It's not as big as it was. Now the road closed fence. Fighting to get his iron back as he comes round behind the bank. And this is where everyone holds their breath. As we heard Bob Ellis say, they have just adjusted the bank. It still looks a mighty long way down. Ooh, is he going to be penalised for that? He's on the way. Lands in a bit of a heap. So past the halfway point now as he heads out for the Devil's Dyke, which comes at fence 10 on the course. Needs to get right down underneath those advertising boards and get a line. And get a line he does, but has another 12 faults. All those three elements down. And now the water. Ocean of water, just a flat open water. Then the Hickstead rails, 160. Now to the last few fences on the course. The last climb of this hill, and although to many it really doesn't look a hill, the undulations, not the undulations, but more of the slope on this really does make it quite a pull up to these big gates, the doubler gates. And then finally to those very thin rustic poles. What drama will they hold this year? The 16th and final fence. The time allowed 180 seconds. He's okay on that, but it's 32 faults for the first we see the Argentine Jose de la Roca, a businessman who's only a part-time show jumper. So for his first attempt, it's quite a big score, but he won't be too displeased. There'll be many who won't get round before we're done, I'm sure. Well, now one of 3 former winners in the field. John Popely, who won it in 1997 on his mother's Bluebird. Quite a surprise win that year. One of the years when it wasn't won with a clear round. Bluebird won with just one mistake. Tristan, a new horse for John Popely, owned by his very successful and talented wife Lee. Got a very good young horse at the moment, Lee. And look at the crowd, they are so responsive. They love every moment of this derby. It's a beautiful afternoon now. Edward Bunn, the man who looks after the arena here, done a great job, because only 3 weeks ago it was the Royal International and it was a wet old show. But the ground has really come absolutely spot on for this famous derby, sponsored this year by DFS. And this horse is really jumping strong, very confident, which is what you need. You need a horse that is brave, and one who perhaps has a heart of a lion. Now steady, whoa. Oh, leaves a leg. That looked just for a moment, it could be nasty, but the horse just lets go at the right moment and pops down. Still very early days, but the bank does look to be jumping a little bit easier as he now comes to the Devil's Dyke. Punches the first one and then does well to get out. So 8 at the moment for the former winner John Popely. And the horse still fighting and pulling, which is making John's job all the more difficult. John Popely, of course, produced some wonderful horses. Luadam, one of his best ever horses that then Billy Toomey bought and rides very successfully for Ireland. Now, if you could get a home on 8, it has been won on 8 in the past. Just the last to come for the 1997 winner, John Popely, and this new horse, Tristan. He hasn't had it many weeks. Oh, the last is gone. What a pity. Still, it's the best score so far in the very early stages of this year's Hickstead Derby. Inside the time, and finishes on those 12 faults, the 3 fences down. Here we see the back again, and see how he leaves his near hind behind. It could have been nasty, but somehow that 18 inches just made all the difference. Well, here's one of the bookies' favourites in this year's field from Belgium, Gregory Wathelet with Hugo Gesmaret. Won the Derby trial here on the Friday of the show, and has also won the Jumping Derby in La Baule. Certainly one of the top Derby horses this year. La Baule, Lisbon. Just 2 of the Derbies, and also went very well in Lumen as well, the famous Belgian Derby. Needs a real specialist horse, this. Over the years, of course, several great horses have won this on more than one occasion. Monsanta won it 3 times. Boomerang, the great Boomerang, and Eddie Macken, they won it 4 times. Probably the greatest horse ever, in the opinion of many of the experts. And Of course, the most recent winner, multi-winner that is, Peter Charles for Ireland with Corrada. His run of 3 coming in 2001, 2002 and 2003. Now the back. Good approach. Very neat indeed. Oh, and that's copybook. Now this famous Devil's Dyke is really the fence. So often the winner jumps through there clear, but Gregory Walthay had gone very well to that point in time, but all 3 elements of the dyke down. The only one to go through that dyke clear so far, the young Belgian rider, Gregory's colleague Jan Motmans. He went through clear, but ended up with 20 faults, and it didn't do him any good. Gregory then on 16. The best score so far still that of John Popeley, with Tristan on 12. Great stride at the last. Flies that. Well, if you took 3 elements of that to Devil's Dyke, that was a very good round for an unlucky 4 faults at the white rails after the Derby Bank. But of course they all count. And here we see that very expensive sequence through. The horse sees that ditch very, very late. They lose their shape. Then they lose their confidence. And in the end, there's 3 expensive fences for the young Belgian. He'll be disappointed. A lot of money had poured on the Belgian on the bookies. And here's another one who's very much fancied. He's one of several riders who've got 2 rides. Robert Whittaker, David McPherson, the 2 fancied ones. And Robert riding a very good horse, Carina, owned by Liz Hunt. It's been one of the horses that's been such a successful horse as he's come through the junior and young rider divisions. Now 22 years old, the son of the famous John Whittaker, already Nations Cup winner, won a senior Grand Prix. And the horse really didn't make it. He looks to be slipping. Slipped coming into those white ditches and slipped on the way out. Robert, who hasn't had a great record in the Derby so far, his very first Derby at 19 years old was in 2002. That was on a horse called Liberty R. Had a cricket score that year. But he has been placed on his last 2 outings on his other ride, which comes later, Qualite. Very neatly over there. Ooh, needs to drop anchors quickly. This horse hasn't been down this bank for first time for Carina. Ah, that was neat. And look at that pole rocking in the cups. Quite lucky. Still on 4. This is looking good. Gets right down again, the outside of the ring, has a good line. Another one to have 2 down. You really tell a good water jumper in this sort of competition when there's absolutely nothing to get you in the air over the water. Carina did that absolutely perfectly. A little bit of breeze, as you can see from the flags in the back. Just come a little bit overcast, but the clouds still very high. Warm afternoon. 12, the best score so far. John Popely and Tristan. Is this man going to join them with one left to jump? Jumps that well, and so we've now 2 on 12. Cosily inside that time allowed. The distance of this course never ever changed since 1961 when Ireland Shaman Hayes won the first time. So we see them come down the bank. Very good camera work as the horse pops down. Gets very deep indeed. Robert doesn't lose his nerve, just keeps the horse balanced, and the horse helps him out. And there's perhaps the reason why Karina slipped. You noticed Robert there with a shoe. Well, now it's Ireland's Shane Breen with Mr. Broderick's Iman Tokanya. Shane Breen, an outstanding pony rider for Ireland, but now has established himself as one of the top Irish internationals. Had a great duel last year on the Irish Grand Prix circuit with Conor Swale, and is now becoming a more regular member of the Nations Cup team. Was here in the Irish team, the Royal International Horse Show, so he certainly knows the arena, and that does help. Ireland, who've won it in all 13 times. Seamus Hayes won it twice in the early days. Then, of course, the great Eddie Macken 4 times in a row with the great Boomerang. Peter Charles 3 times with Corrada more recently. And then, of course, one other outstanding Irish combination that won on a couple of occasions. John Leddingham with the wonderful chestnut Kilbahar. Although it's a big arena for the crowd to see those that go round behind the famous Hickstead bank, designed after the great Hamburg jumping derby by Douglas Bunn. The horses go so close to the spectators there, you could literally touch them. One of the great thrills of watching this derby. So another one coming to the dike with just the one mistake so far. Ireland Shane Breen. Better than some. Still only the one clear through there, though. On 8 as he sets out on the second half of the... Oh, stood a long way off that. On go the brakes. Heads up the arena for the last time. On 8. If he stays on this, he'll be the new leader. And the horse is really jumping. Just the last. He's all right for time. Good run from Shane Breen. His second ride of the day. The first one was disappointing Loandra. He was eliminated, but he's made a very good show on this big, strong chestnut horse, Iman Tokanya, and so he's the new leader. And he goes down that bank as well as anybody, and it certainly is riding better this year in 2005. 25-year-old Nicky Bolter, based down in Hampshire these days, was second here on this horse in 2001, equal second that year. But this is the horse's 5th derby. Very successful junior and young rider, and very competitive. the last 2 years. The horse hasn't gone quite so well, had 24 faults last year, which is the biggest score that Nicky and Magna Carta have had round the course. Very bold, pulls very hard, and that's what so often makes the job difficult for Nicky, particularly in the latter stages. You see him really reaching to take those reins out of Nicky's hands. Devil's Dyke is still the one fence which is taking the most jumping. As you can see, this is a very fast round by Nicky Bolter. Just a reminder, 180 seconds, the time allowed, and there have been occasions when this competition has been won with time faults, most notably with Peter Charles, with Carrada in 2000. Just had the 2 time faults. Stays on 8. She'll go equal with Shane Breen, and if it stayed that way at the end of the first round, they'd jump off. And that's the way it is. Nicky Bolter, Shane Breen, both on 8. As we've now jumped 11 of the field of 28 for this year's DFS Derby. Good performance, nice broad smile from the young lady who was originally from Essex. The horse certainly knew his way down that bank. Look how it really picks up. Lovely picture of harmony. Well, here is the position. 2 on 8. 1 for Ireland, 1 for Britain. Then John Popey and Robert Whittaker in equal third on 12. And then the 16 for Gregory Walthray for Belgium. And then Jan Motmans for Belgium again come behind that. Well, now David McPherson. He's riding the first of his 2 horses. Interesting horse this. It belongs to Jane Annette, who normally rides it, Cologne Diamond. It's one that a lot of money has flooded on with the bookies. Jane Annette, who owns this, has had a very successful career, has won a lot of international trials, as well as in fact winning the Derby trial here 2 years ago. But she feels that David McPherson might get more out of this horse. And David is a class jockey. South African born, of course. Transferred to British nationality in 2002. And is currently the centre of the focus of getting a South African team to the World Equestrian Games in Aachen next year. David could still ride for Great Britain, but his team, or his former country's team, I should say, based with him down in Kent. The owner of this, Jane Annette, still riding at the very top level. In fact, has only recently given the ride to David. She herself finished second in the Derby on her wonderful horse Pipaki, who also won the Speed Derby. Now that really is one that's a bit unnecessary to have down. Landed off the bank with, well, in fact, landed in a heap, to be frank. And a nice sympathetic pat from David McPherson saying, look, that wasn't your fault, mate. Let's go again. Bit unlucky. Very good tactician. Very good, stylish jockey. Oh, and that's lovely. David McPherson beautifully through on Cologne Diamond. The second through the famous Devil's Dyke clear. If he could get home on 8, there'd be 3 of them for a potential jump off. But of course, some big names still to come, and that's not going to be the case. Four riders have won the famous Hickstead Derby on 4 occasions. The great Eddie Macken, who's since retired, of course. Michael Whitaker, who was due to ride Laconda, but he decided against that. Harvey Smith, again, of course, famous name, who's since retired from show jumping, and great John Whitaker. And John's in the field. Could he make it 5 in history? David McPherson is not going to on Cologne Diamond. 12 faults. And that's certainly one of the fancied contenders that are not going to win the famous Boomerang Trophy. You see the horse coming down quite nicely and then jumps down, lands on it. See how he pecks there? All the weight on the shoulders, and the horse really can't get balanced again in the right position to take off. And not David there, just give the horse a very comforting pat. But the next to go, the man who could make it a record 5th win, a fantastic win last year on a chance ride, the great John Whitaker.
It's possible, yes. Lactic's on very good form. He's been jumping really good this week, and he was very good last year, so he has a chance. You know, it's a difficult course and things can go wrong, but you know, I've got to be trying, and yeah, it'd be nice to make it 5.
Well, the Derby jump off last year was one of those magical bits of history for this great competition. A jump off on a chance ride that should have been William Funnell's, owned by the master of Hickstead. Of course, that being Dougie Bunn's Buddy Bunn. That horse in the field with Chloe on this time. And of course that jump off was against John's niece Ellen Whitaker on the great stallion Locarno. Just 18 years old. It was just magical, and John's win was so typical of his wonderful horsemanship, and he's going to need it on this French stallion, Exploit du Rillard. Very difficult ride indeed. It's the horse that he had on the British team in the European Championships. It's won a good Grand Prix this season. It's been in very good form. But is it a Derby horse? We'll see. The first of his 2 chances, the other one that he mentioned, of course, Lactic 2, comes at the very end of the first round. Bold riding. Oh, would you have bet on that? The horse didn't want to go. John kicked him and said, go on, man, it's not that bad. He did. He didn't make a great job of it. But John sat still and gave him time to get out. Ah. Oh, dear. John gives horses such confidence, but this horse tends to want to argue with the great John, and there aren't many who do that and get away with it. John, like a lot of us, has a job to get his tongue around this horse's name, so he calls him Rhubarb. But for a man who celebrated his 50th birthday, 10 days ago or so, he is still riding as well as ever. Coming home with 12 and 1 to jump. Remember, at the moment, 2 on 8, Shane Breen and Nicky Bolter. 12 it is. 3 of them now on 12. Currently in equal third. But there's still a little over a third of the class to jump. John had to really hang on to settle the horse down. The horse then said, well, what do you want? You want me to go or not to go? And thought, oh, one look down there. I don't think we want to go there. John says, OK, you're going. Then he goes down half sideways, lands on his nose, but still John sits absolutely beautifully in the saddle and the horse picks up. Well, from one of our very top senior internationals to one of our up-and-coming younger internationals with a very good future, Robert Maguire, another 25-year-old, a family steeped in the sport of show jumping, both his father and uncle. And he's riding his second horse. This is Mr. Corley, owned by Jan Zilli. Already rode his own horse 2 Mil Showtime, which was his best horse, but that didn't get round. Really feels of what it is his first appearance at the Derby. He needs to sort of get a feel of what it's all about and come back to make a better attempt next year. Because this is a man who's already won the famous Cock of the North at the Great Yorkshire Show. He's represented Great Britain very successfully in some Nations Cups and is highly thought of by the chef de keep Derek Ricketts. Oh dear! And that, I'm afraid, is that for Robert Maguire. The man who'd planned his campaign very well indeed, but both 2 Mil Showtime and Mr. Corley are going to have to come another day. Well, the next is another first-timer for the Derby, but someone who knows Hickstead so well, born and bred here. It is Chloe Bunn riding last year's winner. What are the pressures?
Chloe Bunn and Buddy Bunn.
Well, I know he'll look after me. He'll hopefully take me round, and that's, you know, that makes me quite confident. But at the same time, I'm trying to follow one of the best riders in the world, so a little bit of pressure there, but I'm going to go in there and do my best.
Well, Chloe brought this horse out, and there's Dad watching. I bet he's nervous. Some butterflies flying around there, I bet. But she's won a Speed Derby, not on this horse. And this is a talented horse, bred here on the farm. Chloe, who's studied law and has now got the call to be a barrister, but meanwhile wants to try a hand with a horse as good as this at the sport of show jumping for a bit. William Funnell has done a lot to help Chloe with this very, very good talent, Buddy Bunn. But he damaged a riding muscle very late on and decided literally the day before he couldn't ride, and that's how John Whittaker got the ride. And John got such a great tune out of this horse. Cool cookie, Chloe Bunn. And you can see it here. Must be a very, very difficult occasion for her, having been part of the great Hickstead story for so many years, but now to be actually in it, as it were. Oh, that was lovely. Good control. Great partnership down there. He's getting quite strong, though. Still no clear round. And still, at the moment, 8 faults the leaders. 2 of them on 8. Nicky Boulder and Shane Breen. 1 for Ireland, 1 for Britain. And still, this Hickstead Derby wide, wide open. We often say a horse has got great scope, but I think you perhaps could understand it with this horse, because he really jumps these big fences with ease. You just watch and there is no feeling that the horse is stretched. You feel he could go even higher and wider if it was called on. And that's what we mean by scope. Now, can she get home on 8? Would be a great first derby for Chloe if she could. Just this one. And she does! Nicely home inside the time. Very good riding performance for Chloe. Has really done very little international riding over the last 3 or 4 seasons during her law degree. And look at the Masters box. Daisy, her sister, in the back there. Lovely smile. And that's a very, very good performance under pressure from Chloe Butt. Watch them down the bank because this was absolutely foot perfect. Real harmony. But now it's a 22-year-old Ben Mayer with Alfredo. This man again is fancied, trained by Stephen Smith. And this is one of our younger riders in the lottery-funded world-class start potential squad. And he's a man who really knows what he wants. He wants to be an international star. He's trained under the great Manley from Switzerland, and he's certainly made a big impression. Finished 3rd last year with just a 1-time fault. He jumped every fence clear. Now, can he do it this time and go into the lead? Very good pony rider, and has also won medals at both the Junior European Championships and the Seniors. Gold medal team winner last year, just outside the individual medals. Oof. Jumped a long way down from that bank. Often they land in a heat when it happens, but no, Ben sat absolutely in the right position. And rider's position is so important in that complex of coming down the bank and those white rails straight after. Ah! Such a good shot in. Quite surprising to have that middle element down. Oh, that was close. I think he's all right. Yep, the judge's flag stays down. Oh, and he only just got him back for that. Takes a bit of holding. He's got quite strong brakes in the horse's mouth. To get home from here would put him into the lead. You can hear the crowd wanting to clap. They know very well that this is talent for the future, may even be 2012, the London Olympics. And he jumps the last in great style. And what a round from the 22-year-old Ben Mayer. The Elsenham stud over in Essex is where Ben comes from. And the crowd love that, and that's the new leader. Now, huge jump over the privet hedge. Almost puts Ben out of the saddle. And then down the bank. Here he took off from a long way up, but landed very solid and in balance and popped the rail. But it's the middle element of the dike. Well, now the very popular Tim Stockdale with the Fresh Direct's Cloudy Night, actually owned by the Headley stud. Big jumping mare that's got all the ability. Finished second to the Belgian in the Derby trial. And in fact, Tim Stockdale has jumped one of the 49 clear rounds here with Whiston Bridget. He got beaten in the jump off by John Whittaker, Three-way jump off. That was in 2000 on the great Whiston Bridget. Whiston Bridget, now a mum, got a little colt foal. And so Tim Stockdale challenges with Fresh Direct Cloudy Night. Last year, went round here on this horse for 13 faults, had 2 down, a refusal and a time fault, but did look in very good form on Friday in the Derby trial. Buddy Bum was the only horse in the field to have jumped a clear round before. Peter Charles and Eddie Macken, the only 2 that have actually won the Derby trial and then gone on to win the Derby proper. Although, in fact, Peter Charles did it with different horses. He did it with Carnavelli and Carrada, whereas actually Eddie Macken did it with Boomerang in 1979 when he did both. Perhaps one of the reasons why everyone says that's the best Derby horse ever. Don't sit there and look, boy. That was good. 10 out of 10 so far. Love the way the crowd applaud brilliance in this competition. What makes it so special. This huge crowd went in the ring this morning, as they do it traditionally every year. 2. Oh, very good. Now, clear so far. The third one to go through the dike clear, and we've got no clear round. Can Tim Stockdale put it right? Way out of the water. On go the brakes. Yes. The crowd now clapping every fence. Ooh. And take a look at the clock. He's not got too much time to get home. And he doesn't seem to be aware that he's got under 20 seconds now to get home. This is going to be very, very close indeed. Just the last. He's had a look at the clock and he's coming at the last. I think he realises he's in for a time. Oh, would you believe? And I just have a suspicion that he looked at the clock, realised he was behind and came on to the last, and as a result just took that front bar of that element. So we've got 2 on 4 and nearly at the end of the first round. Is it going to be a jump off between Tim Stockdale and Ben Mayer? Well, once again, the 2005 DFS Derby has just got so much tension. Here we see it again. He just suddenly ups the pace, gets in just so close. And there it is, 2 on 4. Jump off for them if it stays that way. And then 3 on 8 is the top 5 horses at the moment. But here's the man trying to break the record. No person has ever won this Derby more than 4 times. John, who won it in 83, 98, 2000 and 2003. And his last chance is on Pauline Woodward's very consistent Lactic 2. Amazing horse. Can win a speed class, has won puissances. John's ridden him in Grand Prix. But now can he jump a clear round to win the Derby? And the answer's no. He can't jump clear, but now he's got to stay clear the rest of the way and force a jump off with the other 2. John, who first won it in 83, and his great Ryan's son, and his other winners in 98, it was Gammon. In 2000, his beloved Wellham, and then, of course, last year, Chloe Bunn's Buddy Bun. of the Royal International Horse Show in this very arena 2 or 3 weeks ago. This horse didn't look at his very best, but he's gone better here. And as you heard John say, he was quite confident. And when he jumps like that, you can't blame him. Poetry in motion. But what about the Dyke? Only 3 clear through it. And still no clear round this famous course. And there's not going to be. 2005 is going to be one of those years when the Derby's won without a clear round in the first round. Been quite a few of those years. In fact, now he's in the water too. Been quite a few of those years. 2001, the only one this century, but 3 times in the 90s, 97, 96 and 92. And then 3 times in the 80s and 4 times in the 70s. But in all, still 49 clears in the history since 1961 out of the 45 runnings. Well, you wouldn't bet on this man, still breaking that record of most wins. It's not going to be 2005 for John, though. It's 16. We'll probably get him a nibble of the money near the end. £90,000, remember, at stake in all, but 30,000 going to the winner. And it's not going to be John Whittaker. But it could be one of these two. It could be 22-year-old Ben Mayer, who will go first over the shortened course, or Tim Stockdale with the Fresh Directs Cloudy Nights. Now, what will Ben Mayer do? This horse would not be a speed horse. And over the jump off, shortened course, but includes the Dyke, which is the significant thing, but not the bank. And the answer is Ben Mayer is going to go for a clear. Fresh Direct Cloudy Night, again, not a speed horse, quite capable of having an odd fence down, and I think Ben is counting on that, getting clear himself. Now he swings back to the Dyke. And that's what he would have liked to have done the first round. He really was very surprised indeed. He had that middle element down in the first round. Now, can he get home clear and put the pressure on Tim Stockdale? Tim, who's been here before. Turning for home. The crowd have gone strangely quiet, but I think they'll explode in a minute. Just the last. Clear it is at the moment. The time is very, very beatable indeed. Wide over the last, and Ben Mayer is clear. 93.41. Is it good enough for the 22-year-old to win? He's not the youngest ever man. That will be Michael Whittaker, who won it when he was 20. And in fact, Marion Mould, I think the youngest ever winner, with the great Stroller, the wonderful pony. But Ben is thrilled. But has he done enough? Tim Stockdale, he's been placed on a number of occasions, but it was his clear round on Whiston Bridget in 2000 when he got beaten by John Whittaker on Welham. Welham, who was down here taking an award earlier in the day. And that was the horse that beat Tim 5 years ago. Now, can he get sweet revenge? He's certainly going quicker. He's got to leave them up. The Dyke might be his problem. Oh, it's not the Dyke, it's the gate. It's all over. It's all over. The 2005 Derby winner, there he is, 22-year-old Ben Mayer. And Tim Stockdale has to play bridesmaid again. He, in fact, is calling it a day. Very good sportsman, a very good ambassador for British show jumping, but he doesn't win the famous Hickstead Derby. So here is a confirmation of another great competition. It is Ben Mayer who wins with Alfredo, Tim Stockdale second with Fresh Direct Cloudy Night, and those 3 equal thirds. Fresh-faced already. A very good ambassador for the sport.
I'm delighted, to be honest. I thought I'd give it away when I had the middle of the Devil's Diet down, but we kept fighting and we got there in the end. I had my game plan to do what I did actually in the jump off. It couldn't have gone more to plan, and if Tim had gone quicker and he was clear, then I'll hold my hands up and say he beat me on the day, but thankfully it went my way today.
Well, there is the famous Boomerang Trophy in the hands of Ben Ware, the 2005 DFS Hickstead champion. Hope you've enjoyed the derby. Goodbye from Hickstead.